Hi, everyone. This is Lindsay Venna, Regional Vice President and Independent Consultant with Arbonne. And very briefly, I will just intro Becka McKernan. She is a sideline. I've gotten to know her over the last year. She has amazed me at the growth of her team and her energy. And to top it all off, knowing that she has grown herself and her team to nation, working a full-time job as a night nurse. And I actually asked her to get on and speak to my team just to share a little bit about what that is like, what life is like as an Arbonne with a full-time job, and how you can grow it to the top of the company with that job, and kind of what that means. So Becka, I'm just going to toss it over to you and you can go ahead and take it from here.
Perfect. Okay, just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down at some, or I guess just a thumbs down if you can't hear me. I live in this old house, so I always do a disclaimer that sometimes the Wi-Fi gets weird. So anyway, Lindsay, thank you so much for asking me to speak on your call. And yes, thank you for starting on time, because as some of you know, I'm a full-time nurse and I actually head into work tonight. So I'm like, you know, trying to be cute on the top. I definitely am wearing my scrub pants and heading into the hospital after this. So I appreciate you guys getting on the call. I know it was sort of last minute and I had to postpone it the other day. So thank you anyway. So the hope for this call for you guys is to sort of give you my story, a little bit of my background. And I figured when I told my journey story, I kind of wanted to go sort of beginning to almost going nation. My nation training is kind of a whole other training, but I figured kind of the relatability and sort of my best tips on growing kind of start from the beginning and then go right up until my last couple of months. So I know I can't be relatable to everybody. I don't have kids. But when Lindsay asked me to sort of tell my story and explain that, yes, I have stayed a full-time employee at my hospital. I work night shifts. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. And that has been a commitment of mine to stay full-time. I really wanted to prove to myself and to everybody that this business is totally a nooks and crannies business, and that, you know, you can get creative and get this done even when you have a crazy schedule. So I'm going to give my story a little bit background. I'm from a little town called Bow in New Hampshire. Small town. Like I said, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse 6 years. I've been in Arbonne for 4 years. Actually, last month was my 4-year anniversary when we promoted to nation, which was pretty fun. So 4 years ago, I was introduced to Arbonne, being invited to a facial party. And at the time, I thought this Arbonne thing was like an old lady smelly makeup company, and I didn't want to go. The day of, the girl who was hosting the party, who was my best friend, she called me, and I was hoping it was to cancel because I didn't want to go to this weird makeup whatever. And it was actually to say, everyone else has canceled except for you and one other girl. Please, you're my best friend. You have to come and be nice. So I like rolled my eyes and I showed up because I had all these preconceived ideas. And I'm so glad that I went because honestly, obviously that decision has completely changed my life. But I think I have like 6 tips throughout my story. And the first one is to never cancel a party. Amy, who is my upline executive national vice president, Amy Hazelton, she told Jen, Jen was my best friend. She kind of did like little coaching, and Jen said, you know, no one's really coming. Should we still do it? Amy said yes. And from that party, Amy got her first national vice president, which was me. And then I'll kind of get to Jen in a little bit because she's part of my story. But if you can talk to Throw Pillows and the host, do it, because you never know. If someone's willing and committed to keep a party going for you, there's probably something special about them. So I teach my team that, even if it's the host and her sister, if those people are like, sure, still come over, there's probably a little bit of interest that they have in the business or more in the products, still get to those parties and still show up and be there and be that face. So I left that party. I bought face cream. I bought the cleanser, RE9 cleanser, and some protein, because 2 things about me: I'd never washed my face before, and I wasn't eating breakfast. At the time, I was a 12-hour day nurse, and I would start eating probably around like 2 p.m. when I got my first break at the hospital. It was very busy. So Amy told me about, you know, these shakes that I could eat, that I should probably start washing my face to prevent aging. So I left that party, no interest in the business. That next week, I flew down to Florida. My parents live in Florida. My sisters were visiting, and I always call them my harshest critics because my older sister, I'm smack dab in the middle. My older sister's a pediatrician. My younger sister's an engineer. They critique everything in my life. I'm the middle one that always gets not bullied, but you know what I mean. So I told them about this Arbonne stuff, and only to tell them that my blackheads were finally gone. This protein tasted like brownie batter. So by the end of the week, just from sharing the products, I called up this Amy girl, who's now my upline. I said, hey, you have some new clients down here in Florida, still no interest in the business. And she's like, oh, that's great. Like, you want to do this side thing with me? And her story is that she had done Arbonne for 2 years and never really been brave enough to tell the Arbonne story. So I didn't know it at the time, but she was prospecting her first business builder. So I was like, no, like, I'm a nurse. I'm not a salesperson, like, thanks anyways. And she was like, I don't know what you were doing with your sisters, but it sounds like it's all I do. I share the products, I get them excited about them, and then people just want to buy them because they see the difference. So that's like another thing. My tip number 2 is to follow up, because Amy had sent me an email in that week that I was in Florida and just said it was so nice to meet you, because she only had to send like 2 emails. Only 2 people showed up to the party. But she emailed me, and my email back before I called her was, we're loving the samples you gave me, and I'm seeing a lot of white Mercedes down here, ... Because, you start to think about what you see what you think about. So because she did that, it kind of started that conversation, and I was comfortable to sort of reach out to her. So she kept it light, and her big thing too, and what she still does, is she kept it fun. She's like, you have nothing to lose. Come home from Florida, do a little party. If you hate it, if you don't want to do the business, it will be my party. If you love it, that can be your launch party. So that's another thing, guys. She kept it really kind of easy, no pressure, just keeping it fun. What did you have to lose scenario? So really, I had no choice but to see the, glass half full. And I was like, okay, I might as well give it a try. Stuff that Amy didn't know at the time, when she was asking me this, is, so like I said, I was a full-time nurse. And when you're full-time, when you do 12 hours, you have 4 days off. So I was looking for something extra. I had just like the week before applied for a part-time position at a hospice house, because I was an oncology nurse at the time, and I really liked that aspect, because I knew I loved nursing. I knew I liked to help people, but that paycheck that you get as a nurse really wasn't cutting it for that lifestyle design that I wanted. Down the road, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't seeing all the pieces come together that I had all these dreams for when I was younger. So Amy didn't know any of that, but she just offered this opportunity. And when I kind of wrapped my head around the idea of this recommendation sales and just keeping it fun, I could see that bigger picture. And so it made it easier to make the decision to join. So it sort of, I like to say Arbonne sort of found me at the perfect time, because I didn't know it at the time. And I always say no one is sitting around their circle time in kindergarten looking for Arbonne, but I feel like it finds people, and it found me at the right time. So my journey, so I hopped right into Arbonne, and it took me 6 months to get my first business builder. So I always say, good things come to those who wait, because my third tip would be to be patient and to sponsor up. Because honestly, I say it took me 6 months to get my first business builder. I got those ones that are the warm bodies that they join, and within 24 hours, they join the witness protection program, and you never hear from them again. I think we've all heard of those people. So my biggest tip with that is embrace your own journey. Because back then, 4 years ago, or when I was watching that first 6 months of people joining, doing nothing, and other people joined Amy's team because she started to get some momentum, and they sailed past me. They were becoming district managers, going into area qual. Here I'm sitting for 6 months, not able to get one serious person to join my team. But I will tell you now, none of those people are still in the business. They sailed past. They maybe had it easy right off the bat. But the thing about Arbonne, and I tell everyone, is you can't compare anyone's stories to yourself. So embrace your own story. I don't know, Amy probably watched me for 6 months, whatever, and she's like, this is not going anywhere. She probably didn't think that she sponsored her first national vice president, but anyway, she kept dripping on me. She kept it fun. Again, I always go back to fun. Arbonne is fun for me, and that's kind of what keeps me going. But so anyway, yes, 6 months. So I joined in June, and in those 6 months' time, the one thing that I was doing right was that I was hitting my numbers. Amy had taught me to hit my brick every month. So that's another thing, guys, is set the bar high when you join people into your team. It's fun to celebrate that they go into district qual and that sort of thing. But Amy told me, she's like, to keep your business going, to show that you're constantly having growth, it's hitting those 2,500 every month. So when my business builder, 6 months into my business, Jen, who hosted that party, who is now my first promoted out regional vice president. So now you see that first party that Amy almost canceled, national vice president, regional vice president. She joined my team 6 months in. We were ready to rock because I was doing my brick. Jen was duplicating that, which is all of a sudden I started to see how this worked. And then we started to grow like crazy. So I think it was, let's see, by February, of the following year, I was area manager because I was doing my district, and then Jen was helping me, and we just had that crazy exponential growth to get to area. But I will tell you that getting to area was not a coincidence, or getting to area by February. And that's my tip number 4, is write down your goals. I can remember back to around that time. Now think about what you're doing in February. You're thinking about Vegas. You're thinking about getting to that area manager white party. So for me, when it was kind of getting to the end of the year, Amy's explaining, hey, we're going to go to Vegas. I'm like, okay, like, you know, I joined in June. It was now almost whatever. And she's like, and she explained what you could, you know, do when you're in Vegas. And one of the things was this white party I was very intrigued by. So I looked into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I definitely want to be there. So what I did is I made the goals for myself on my fridge. It said I will be attending GTC's white party. And then my bathroom mirror had 10K, 10K, 10K. And every month with my husband, when we did it, we crossed it off. We sent a picture to Amy. And that's something that I have always taught my team, is write down your goals. And I teach every new consultant, honestly, to pick out their white Mercedes, because when things get hard and you hit little roadblocks, I want them to see that big picture. This is coming and this is what you're working towards. I mean, you're not working necessarily for a car, but I always have people to make their vision really big right away. And I would say, if I could have one word that sort of described me and my Arbonne like journey and just myself, is visionary, because I love dream boards way before Arbonne. You can ask Jen, my regional vice president. She and I lived together. I used to make her make dream boards with me. It would have, like, you know, lake, before Arbonne even exists, lake houses, or getting a new job. I really wanted to be in labor and delivery, so I had that, you know, with a nurse with a baby. I had like weird things, like I want to do a full split. I still can't do that, but other things I can do. So I wrote those on my list. And so Jen's always joked, she's like, yeah, like, you know, Arbonne was just a natural transition for you because you love making goals and dreams. So at any given time, there's something on my fridge that I'm working towards, you know, because I think a great quote is, hold the vision and trust the process, because you have to be able to go up and down through these bumps in the Arbonne journey. And so, and this other one, your thoughts shape your vision, and you see what you choose to see. And honestly, that's what it came down for me, for every step of the way. You choose what you see what you choose to see. And that's when way back when I didn't even know I wanted to do Arbonne, I was already telling Amy, hey, I see a lot of white Mercedes on the road, because my brain was already ready to say, like, if I did Arbonne, what would happen if I did this? So, you know, going nation, you get to go to Hawaii. So I had Hawaiian things everywhere in my house. I had these like Hawaiian leis hanging across like my kitchen, like everywhere. And right now in my living room, I have an Eiffel Tower, because that's the national vice president trip. And I have the info for that on my fridge. A lot of my team, you know, when they're working towards the you know, this was Jamaica, but the trips, the incentive trips, they have like a thermometer on their fridge to kind of cross off when you're getting closer and closer. So write down your goals, because when you do, you have something to think about, and your brain gets on purpose and you start thinking about those things. So that's the one thing, honestly, that I feel like maybe I did right when I started out, was actually having a vision. Okay, I'm making sure I got all those notes. Okay, so I went to that GTC all excited as a new area manager. Great. And then I came home. Fast forward to next GTC, I was an area manager again. So I went again as an area manager, and I left feeling really, really determined to not come back as an area manager. You guys know that fire in your belly feeling that you get. And the one thing that I was trying to reflect on how I could describe sort of my journey leaving as an area manager, was that I had so much fire and energy and excitement and craziness that I didn't even know where to put the fire. So I took that fire and I lit a back burner. I don't know if any of you have done that. You come home from a retreat, a conference, you're super excited, you're super energized, but you don't know where to put it. You like are, I don't know, it's too overwhelming, I would say. So I'll get into a tip later on how I kind of fix that about myself. But what happened was I came home from that GTC, and by May, my fire, which I stuck on the back burner, went out. And here's sort of what happened. The background was May of that year, so I got engaged, and in August of that coming year, or that summer, I was going to get married and moving into my dream home. Honestly, I did that in 1 week. So what was going on is I got distracted. So I came home, the fire went out because I didn't know where to put it. And I just got busy and distracted with stuff that wasn't Arbonne. I was totally switched my focus. So tip number 5 is, don't let the reason you joined Arbonne be the excuse why you're not working Arbonne. Simply said, do not let your reason why be your excuse why not. Because what was happening is The wedding I was planning, paid for by Arbonne. The dream home that I was moving into, the down payment was all the paychecks I had saved up pretty much till that point was only Arbonne. I was only able to afford these things in this new dream life I was creating because of Arbonne. But what I did at that moment is I shifted out and I said, great, I've done all that. Now let's focus on all the fun things I've earned from Arbonne, but I stopped working my business. So learn that tip from me today is don't do that, because by July 1st of that year, I lost my area. So I lost my area. I had an upcoming wedding now. I was moving to my house, all paid for by Arbonne, but my vision was gone. So at this point, it was super embarrassing, and I was very ashamed, and honestly, a lot of my team didn't know, and maybe some of you guys can relate if you've ever lost a level. And even Amy, obviously, who was my upline, knew, and she was asking me, she's like, you want to train about this, about what's going on? I'm like, no, I don't want to train about it. Like, I'm super embarrassed. Like, absolutely not. But the reason I share this with you guys, if this ever happened to you, or you're like terrified that it will, is that nothing happened. Nothing terrible happened. The great thing about Arbonne is if something happened like this, a demotion, whatever, there's no fee. You don't get fired. No one talks meanly to you. It literally is just a chance to rebuild, because your setbacks will always set you up for greater comebacks. So here's what I learned during that trial that was going on in my life. Losers quit when they fail, but winners fail until they succeed, right? And what I loved is falling down is an accident, but staying down is a choice. And I'll never forget the day that Amy and I were talking back and forth on the phone. I remember exactly where I was at the time. And she gave me permission to walk away from Arbonne because I was so down on myself. I was like, this can't be meant for me. Like, here I am doing all this stuff. And I remember thinking that day, okay, I could quit or I could fight. And I remember it perfectly. So, what I decided to do at that moment, obviously, since, I'm here today, is I decided to pick up the phone and text the number one person on my chicken list who I honestly hadn't texted yet. So if you're here and you're like, I've done everything, you probably haven't. You probably have a mental block somewhere that's not letting you maybe think about some of the scary things you still need to do to succeed. And I was sitting there feeling defeated, feeling like I'd done everything, but I really hadn't. So what I did was I texted that one girl on my chicken list, and I was super vulnerable with her. And I just said, I'm being brave texting you because I'm super nervous and I haven't shared Arbonne with you. And it's been selfish of me not to because of the success that I've had. Will you take a look at this business? And honestly, at that, she responded, yes. She joined my team. She then, became an area manager during the time that I was going region. But the thing that's crazy about all of this, so I lost it by July 1st. By September 1st, I regained my area because that day I made a choice to start texting the scary people and get out of my own head. So that was September 1st. I regained my area. By October 31st, our team went into RVP qual. And by December 31st, we finished region. So what does that say? My tip number 6 is faith it until you make it. And this is one of my favorite little quotes, faith it until you make it, because I didn't say fake it. And that's another thing people always like, fake it till you make it. I'm like, the thing about that is that nothing about what I was doing in my journey was fake. I wasn't faking my vision. I wasn't faking what I was thinking about. Everything was on purpose at that point. I had faith in the process. Again, hold the vision, trust the process. So you guys are obviously on this call or listening to this call later because you have some serious business goal. Maybe it's to promote to the next level. Maybe it's to become an executive national vice president. None of those desires or goals or any of that is fake. So faith it till you make it. Again, put your faith into the process and just get down and do the work, because magical things can happen. I can't even say. So from there on, I could do, let me just check the time because, okay, it's 6:20. We're still good. So I kind of wanted to just stop there and I could do a whole training on my actual story to Nation, which was magical. The one summary that I have for you guys about making the decision, and it doesn't have to be region to nation, it can be any level, is you have to set yourself on fire with energy that will then trickle down to your team. We completed Nation in 2 months, something that Amy told me later she didn't even think was possible based on just like not hearing anyone else who had done that. But what I did was I led a force of my team with my energy that then trickled down onto them. So if there's something that you guys want right now, a promotion that you want, you have to create a frenzy in your own business, in your own mind, and you have to declare it to the world. I tell my team, first thing, declare it to everybody. Tell everyone this is happening. What it does in your brain is it creates that no back door, and it just gets you guys in energy. It reminds you every single day. I remember being in GTC this past year. April was when we went into Nation Qual. Obviously, we hadn't gotten there here yet while we were at GTC, but we were at a VP reception, and, you know, Joyce, my upline, is she your upline too? Does she? No, she's not. She's like ENV, whatever.
Yes.
She was like, oh, how's it going this month? And I was like, oh yeah, we're going Nation Crawl. She's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, we are. So the more that you tell people what you're doing, the more it convinces you that you're doing it, and the more it tells your team that you need to do it, because the world gets out of the way for somebody who knows where they're going, right? When you're on purpose, people want to follow you. So if you're saying, I haven't moved, I haven't budged, what are you telling yourself first? And then what are you telling the people who are watching? Because it doesn't have to be even your team. People in my life knew. And honestly, during those 2 months of us going Nation, people came out of the woodwork. I had people who I had been asking to host for 4 years who weren't hosting, finally agreed to host. Back 4 years ago when I joined Arbonne, my dad told me at the time, my dad told me at the time to not do that and to advance my nursing degree. Of course, over the time, he became supportive and was excited. The month that we went Nation, he joined my business and went district in 1 month because he saw the craziness. He's been watching. He has an amazing before and after with the 28-day challenge. He's been sending me business forever, but that's a side note. But things like that happen because people know that you're on purpose and you're real and you are excited and you're energized, and those are the people that they're attracted to. So I quickly want to just touch on, because I know one thing that Lindsay and I talked about, and which is so important, is some of you guys who are on this call still have full-time jobs. And again, like I said, I don't have kids. My full-time job is kind of my kid, I guess, when I'm, you know, building to Nation. But I wanted to give you guys some tips on being able to keep within your, you know, keep your job, whatever you're doing, whether it's full-time or part-time, but not using that as an excuse and using it as a tool for growing your business. So one is use your networks wisely. Honestly, I look for the busiest people to join my team. When they say they're busy, I'm like, great, tell me what you're busy with. Oh, I have 3 kids. 1 kid's in softball. I'm like, who do you sit next to on the field when you're watching the softball game? Who can you talk to there? Oh, well, I'm in this bowling group. I'm like, perfect. How many people are on your bowling team? Talk to me about that. Oh, I run meetings every Tuesday. I'm like, what are you doing while you're driving to and from the meetings? How far is that? How much time can you spend in the car listening to trainings? So I love working with people who are busy and figuring out their networks, because honestly, I teach everyone, your business is your mouth. If you are around people, I'm guessing that most people are busy and they're around other people. I guess some people maybe have isolated jobs and they're not. But if you have a full-time job, it is one of your best networks to grow this business. And maybe, you know, you can't always be talking about Arbonne, but there's always ways to be able to bring up Arbonne. And we're so lucky. Here's my #1 way to bring up Arbonne. Does everybody have this? Does everyone have fizz sticks that look like a funny color? So when I changed jobs, so for 4 years I did oncology. I switched 2 years ago to labor and delivery, which is one of my #1 reasons why I went Nation, I'm pretty sure. I started to do a night shift job. I'd never done nights before, and I said, Becca, you have to show up at these night shifts. You have to show that these fizz sticks work, and you have to be drinking them every single day, and you have to be energized. So every single day for these night shifts, I went in and I ran circles around these night shift nurses who have been nurses forever. I was energized. They were all doing coffee o'clock at 1 a.m. Well, guess what? I was drinking my fizz and I was way more awake than them every single night. Finally, they started to ask, what the heck are you drinking? I'm like, it's a fizz stick. Want a sample? I kept a box in my locker. I gave out pretty much every fizz stick. Today, there are 13 consultants on my team who work on my unit. And honestly, I have to say that, and it's a combination of day shift, night shift, LNAs, nurses. We have doctors drinking fizz sticks. But I told myself I'm not going to join this new unit and throw up Arbonne all over everyone. I never want to do that. You never want to be that person that comes in and is obnoxious. You don't want to create that, culture that a network marketing company is pushy. But all I did was showed that the products worked. I kept active on social media. I purposefully friended everyone pretty quickly, and they started to see my journey. And people wanted to know what the heck I was doing that was giving me success. Why are you going on these trips? Why do you need this weekend off? Oh, I'm doing this. Da, da, da. You bring Arbonne up in every conversation, and you have tools to be able to follow up right away. Keep fizz sticks, protein, catalogs, whatever is on you. It's not always appropriate to run your Arbonne business at work, but there's ways to sneak it in like that. So the next thing is use your nooks and crannies. I, as a night nurse, have the craziest schedule of anyone that I know. I'm still full-time, and I am not someone who has set office hours for Arbonne. I don't know if I ever will, because every single week for me is a completely different week. I never have the same 3 night shifts. I have call shifts. I come off every morning at 7 a.m., and sometimes I sleep 4 hours, sometimes I sleep 7. I never really know what my body's going to do. So I just fit it in where I can. So do not get overwhelmed by that. So some people have great jobs where they say, okay, I'm coming home and I'm doing Arbonne 4 to 5 every single day. But you don't feel like to become successful in Arbonne, you have to have these crazy set hours. We do it when we can. I send crazy late, I mean, I don't try to send text messages at 2 a.m., but if I'm on my break at work, I might do a follow-up. If I'm waking up, at 3 p.m. getting ready for work, I'll send off a text. It's not that hard to just stay consistent, but a little bit goes a long way. So I want you guys to think about that. Don't feel like because you have this crazy job, it means that you have to kind of pick and choose hours. Just do it a little bit every day. Listen to a SoundCloud while you're getting ready for work. Listen to one while you're going to work. Get home, get in the car. We call our cars a moving university. Use your time wisely. When you're having lunch with a friend, if they haven't heard of Arbonne, do something that makes Arbonne come up. You have to be smart about it, and here's another thing. If you're active in your Arbonne business, if you're going to meetings, if you're getting to GTC, if you're going to our Life Changers retreat, there's always things that you can be talking about with Arbonne because people want to know what's going on. I swear to you, people are attracted to people who are having fun. So keeping Arbonne fun, keeping it light, keeping it exciting, showing the success. I, for a long time, did not have the financial success right away. 6 months, no team. But I was showing other people I was borrowing other people's belief. I had my own, but I was saying, Amy's here. So sorry, I was echoing. So don't feel like just because maybe you're not sitting there with your white Mercedes doesn't mean that you can't attract business. I still was attracting tons of business building up to my white Mercedes. And sometimes now I feel like I have to drop back and be more relatable because people are like, oh, she has a white Mercedes. So, be in the grind with other people. They get that what you're working towards. Another thing is be willing to be flexible. I do crazy things. Now, I'm a weird example because I'm a night nurse, but I worked the last 2 night shifts. I came off of the first night shift. I slept. I woke up at 3 p.m. I then had someone cover my shift from 7 to 10 because I had an Arbonne party. I went to an Arbonne party. I came into work, went home, slept, woke up today, went to the gym, left the gym 10 minutes early to shower to be ready for this call. So be willing to do some crazy, weird stuff every once in a while. Now, this is a little extreme, these 3 shifts in a row. I'm not your Energizer bunny that I sound like right now, but be willing to maybe say no to a few things, to be able to say yes to a few things, because honestly, Arbonne is about, getting those temporary sacrifices for that long-term gain. So there might be times where you can't attend everything in your life, but be willing to do a little bit of extra while you're in this grind and do it quickly so you can have more time in the future. Don't drag it out forever. Get crazy and get into momentum, because the lifestyle that you can create, I get to go part-time at the end of this summer because I've created this opportunity with Arbonne. But I love that I can say that I went full-time before I went part-time. As a nation, I was a full-time, because that to me shows that growth that you can do while you're still working crazy. And then my last little thing that I want to say is stay positive at your job. If you're someone who is working and, maybe I always say like a side effect of Arbonne is that you stop wanting to be, even if you like your job, you just stop wanting to be there as much. And that's nothing against my job. If you know anything about labor and delivery, it's a pretty sweet job. I love my job. For the most part, it's a great place to be. But when you start to see these other opportunities like Arbonne and Life by Design and, trips and different things that you can do, you start wanting to maybe do those things more than be at your job. And that's okay. But what's really important is whether or not you think people are watching you and relating you to Arbonne, they totally are. And the reason I wrote this as a bullet point is last week or 2 weeks ago, I had my yearly eval with my boss, and she's not in Arbonne. We're not even friends on social media. But when we sat down and, she went through my evaluation and she was like, you are one of our top Now I feel like a baby on the unit. Labor and delivery nurses stay there forever. So 2 years in, I'm still one of the new ones. And she said that you're one of our top leaders on our unit. And I was like, what? And she goes, I don't know what you do with your Arbonne people and what you do in your Arbonne world, but whatever you're doing, because she knows where I am in Arbonne, whatever you're doing in Arbonne is 100% coming into your work here at the hospital. We just got this whole new computer system at the hospital, and it's easy to be negative because a lot of glitches happen. But I try, obviously, I bring my Arbonne spirit, my energy, my positivity, glass half full personality, and I'm not a complainer. I don't gossip at work because I know that that's not important for me. It's not good for my growth, and it doesn't help anyone around me. And that was even before Arbonne, but she took my positivity, my leadership, my energy, and she related it back to my Arbonne business. And she said, a lot of people do that because they sit down and they have charge nurse meetings. I'm not a charge nurse. And they go through and they talk about different nurses. And they said, we have only heard positive things about you. And I know a lot of your Arbonne team is here, but I know when you're at work, you prioritize your work. But whatever you're doing with Arbonne and whatever you've done with the team you've created in Arbonne on our unit, you guys are the positive leaders on our unit. So I went on Facebook Live that afternoon with my team and my nation, and I was like, guys, people are watching you. I remember when I was younger, my dad, he's big on brand. He said, when you go out into the world, when you go to school, when you go to your friend's house, go to church, you are not only representing you, you're representing our family. So when you go out there, you have to reflect what you want to bring, what you do reflects back to our family. So I've always done that with now everything. So when I now drive around in my Arbonne Mercedes, I mean, I didn't cut people off before, but you betcha I'm polite on the road because I am representing Arbonne every single time I do anything. When I'm out at a party, when I'm even at my own job, people watch that. They watch you on social media. So stay positive, even if maybe you're not in the happiest of places at work because you want to be done work and you want to do Arbonne. But keep that excitement because you want to leave people with that positive feeling. You never know who's watching. I've had people join my business who have said, I just need a better group of friends and you guys look like you're having fun. That is awesome that we can give that to people. Some people aren't looking for financial freedom. They're looking for just a better life to get out of depression, whatever it is. So keep positive, whatever you're doing with your work, whatever you're doing in your life, because so many people are watching you. So I think Lynn's, it's 6:31. This is good. I have like 8 minutes to get to work. So.
Okay, you are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you shared a little bit of what your schedule has been like last couple of days, because that was one of the things when I asked you to do this. You guys, she was literally like, yeah, of course I will. Hold on, let me check my schedule. And then she's like, I have a sleepover this day, and then I have an Arbonne party, and then I have another sleepover, and then I have a family event, and I work 2 nights. And I was like, if she can figure out how to do this with that schedule, anybody better figure out if they want it bad enough how to do it. So Becka, thank you so much. I know you have to get to work. Others have to get to dinner and all of that. You guys that are on, thank you. You guys are inspiration. Your energy is contagious. I can see why people are just, joining you left and right. And if there's anything that I heard is she's done nothing different than other people that have grown. It's her mindset. It's her commitment to her vision and where she was going the whole time, and that she didn't let it down. She just kept moving forward and made it important. The fact that she says she had somebody call in, she had somebody take her shift for 3 hours from 7 to 10 so she could go do an Arbonne party says 2 things. She's really scheduled with her Arbonne business, and she was committed to growing this as much as her career. And those are really important to acknowledge. So we appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for getting on, you guys. Everybody have an awesome night.
Yes, thanks, guys. Nice to meet you all. Bye.
I'll send you the recording so you can post for your team.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.